Hello, everyone. Welcome to our fifth speaker series session for 2022. For those of you who don't know us, 51 Invest is an initiative of 51 Labs, and we facilitate efficient deal-making and matchmaking opportunities for local, regional, and international investors. Every month, we conduct a webinar as part of our speaker series. The speaker series is designed to increase awareness of the different types of investors and investments. We also invite regional, international, and local investors to talk about their knowledge and experiences. We also invite Iraqi and regional founders to discuss their success stories and entrepreneurial journey. So today's session is going to be really exciting. It's going to be into the rise of fintech in Iraq. We are pleased to have with us today Yazin Al-Tamimi from Zain Cash, Ali Al-Hilli from Swag, and Abdulrahman Bapir from Kurtcoin. In today's panel, we're going to take an overview of fintech and cryptocurrency in Iraq and the role of fintech in enabling commerce. We're going to leave the last 15 minutes for a Q&A with the audience. And we're also going to be live on Facebook. Make sure to follow us on Twitter and LinkedIn so you learn more about our sessions. And I'm going to let the panelists take it from here. Yazin, can you please introduce yourself and tell us a little bit about your background?
Yeah, sure. First of all, hi, everyone. Thanks for having me on board. So let me start by telling you a bit about myself. I'm Iraqi, but was raised abroad, mainly in Canada. Graduated from McGill in Montreal in finance. And then after my undergrad, I went into e-commerce. So that was back in 2005 when Amazon barely existed, was mainly selling products on eBay at the time. So at that time, e-commerce was in the beginning of it, and that was after the e-commerce boom and bust. So at that stage, I kind of learned a lot about payments and the importance of payments, especially in the e-commerce space. From thereafter, I sold that business back in 2007 to my supplier, who was based in Hong Kong. Mainly, we were selling electronics to North America through a drop shipping model. At the time, I was working at home and running that e-commerce from home. That was like an easy and a low budget model, but it became successful and was sold for a substantial amount for my age at the time. Then I moved on to going into an MBA at University of Toronto, where I studied, I focused mainly on finance and did my CFA. So I was hoping to get into investment banking. But then an opportunity came to go into consulting, where I worked with Roland Berger as a strategy consultant in Dubai, and then moved after to Accenture as a strategy consultant to 2016. And then I had this opportunity to work with Zain and its chairman, Mr. March Holding, which is our main owner of Zain Cash, to start this business. We had the first license as a mobile wallet in Iraq, and I was taken as the first founder. So I was employee number one. I've been operating Zain Cash since its launch in early 2016. It's been a very exciting 7 years so far. It passed very quickly, and I think we've done a lot relative to what Iraq has went through. And yeah, so today, you guys probably, most of you have heard of Zain Cash and what we're doing in the market. And then be happy in this panel to give you more information as well about the market and us as a company. Thank you.
Thank you so much. Ali, can you please introduce yourself and tell us a little bit more about your experience?
Okay, my name is Ali. I hold a bachelor degree in software engineering. So basically, I used to be a software analyst and developer. I also have a master's degree in business administration with a marketing concentration from New York Institute of Technology. I've been working in different sectors for the past 12 years. My last encounter in Iraq, especially since 2016, since coming back to 2016 to Baghdad, I spent 5 years at Zain Telecom, working in the communication and the entrepreneurial setup for the startups journeys in the country. I have moved for 1 year to the fintech industry with Ashtar Gate. And this month actually, I joined Ms. Wag, the leading e-commerce in the country.
Thank you, Ali. Thanks. Mabruk on the new position.
Thank you.
Abdulrahman, can you please introduce yourself and tell us a little bit about your journey as a founder?
Thank you very much. My name is Abdulrahman Bapir. I hold a BA in Politics and International Relations from the University of Kurdistan Holer, based in Erbil. And I started my master's journey to do politics and economics of the Middle East at King's College London. But that's when I started my business journey. Before that, I was already only working with international organizations and NGOs that were based in Iraq and the Middle East, including the UN and Oxfam International. In 2017, I came back to Iraq. I was in London, I came back to Iraq, and we started Kurtcoin. I was the founder and became the CEO until now.
Thank you so much, Abdulrahman. So we're going to start with Yazin. Can you tell me how come Zain Telecom decided to go into the fintech space and what were the main motivators?
Yeah, sure. So the way it worked for this, specifically this license, it was more of an initiative from the central bank. So the central bank, obviously, until this day, was being challenged with the cash issue. The objective of the central bank is to move the country into a cashless society because of the obvious reasons, more efficient, more monitoring, and so forth. So they looked at the successful models of the mobile wallet in Africa, which the one that stands out to everyone is the Kenyan model of M-Pesa, which was very successful. And then 70%, I think, of GDP goes through that platform. And then obviously the central bank was saying, let's try out new things. Maybe the mobile wallet will work out. So they they opened the licenses. Initially, it started, they need a telecom operator to be the partner of this company. So they issued the license and they invited us and so Zain at the time and AsiaCell and the other operators, but the ones that took the license were us and AsiaCell. And that's how it first started. I got the opportunity. I was given the opportunity to lead this. And then one of the main clauses of the regulation is that it cannot be operated by the telecom itself. So the telecom should partner with a newly established company and would be regulated by the central bank. So there's obviously Zain is a telecom and is operated by the CMC. This, as a new company, has to be regulated by the central bank. So a new company was established. It's called Iraq Wallet, but the brand name is called Zain Cash, and it's owned by March Holding, which is a shareholder of Zain. So it's not actually called. It's not owned by Zain Telecom. I just want to clear that out. Zain is a partner in this venture, but obviously the brand would probably mislead people to think it's a Zain owned company.
Interesting. Okay, thank you for clarifying that. And since you launched in 2016, what are the challenges that you have faced? Sort of user adoption, are there any regulatory concerns, although you're backed up by the central bank, but what kind of challenges have you seen or obstacles?
Yeah, it was obviously, as soon as we started, it was full of challenges. I mean, when I started from one, it wasn't my industry, so I didn't have a background in payments even. So it was a very new industry as a fintech to everyone. And then when we took on this as a start, obviously the whole objective was to move companies and consumers from cash to e-payments. And it was a big challenge. Number one, there's not really use cases for payments today. In even 2016, there wasn't much of a use cases. So basically, payments to merchants is done to cash. People are using cash. There was still a trust issue in 2016 of trusting their money with any financial institution due to the bankruptcies that happened with banks. So people would rather have their cash within their hands in their homes than putting deposits in banks or even, let's say, a new e-payment company. So the main challenge was to create use cases to consumers, to small and medium enterprises, and maybe look at corporate and government entities. And so that was the first challenge: is okay, how we're going to crack this, how we're going to find the use cases, how to be agile and do the trial and errors. So when we started, we tried to first focus on e-commerce companies. So because it was also the start of creating e-commerce, and even at the time, Miswag was also just starting. And Ali knows this because he was also part of Zain, and now he's at Miswag and he's aware of the story. So that was a big challenge, and then I can tell you more about how we cracked it. But the way that was very important to us is the way we need to be able to try different use cases. We needed to fail out quickly, and then we needed to adjust very quickly. And that was the big model. That's a model that we had to find. And to be honest, we failed a lot. We've tried many things in 2016 and 17. Most of the things that we tried did not work out. But if we look back, we only needed a few use cases, became very successful, and we consider ourselves today very successful. We do almost we do $1 billion of transactions a year, and we're growing 100% every year at this rate. We're not looking at profits at this stage. We're looking at more customer adoption. We're looking at transactions to increase, and we're looking to also diversify our use cases. So that was important. I can dig deeper into what we've done. But I would say, back to your question, the biggest challenge was how to find use cases for consumer and small businesses, and how to get them to trust us and be more and to see the benefit of it. Yeah.
Can you tell me a little bit about the issue of trust, and especially given the financial situation back then? How did you overcome this? What were some of the steps you took?
So for sure, any person, and we've seen this obviously in Lebanon too. Now, unfortunately, Lebanon also went back many years because now they lost back the trust of banks. So this is, it's money, it's very sensitive. So people want to make sure that if I'm going to put and deposit money, this is a trustworthy place. And even if I come 10 years from now and whatever the country faces, I'll still find my money there. And unfortunately in Iraq and also our region, they went through a lot and they don't want to risk it. So I'll tell you, till this day, no one trusts any financial institution. And I think it will take many years. But till now, people use us as a payment way, as a payment channel. And they also use banks as a cash out location or a quick deposit. But the majority, we have not overcome the trust. If you see 99% of people who receive salaries on their cards or through the wallets, they cash out their money within the same day. And no one was able to crack this, and it will take a long time. But at least we created use cases that enabled users to use us. So whether it's transferring from an individual to another, so they start using us slowly, but then they cash out the money, whether it's paying for a bill, whether it's traveling with their card. So they're keeping a minimal amount, but the trust will take time to overcome.
Okay, so like building on this, Ali, what I wanted to ask you is that before we go into Ishtar Gate, I've been reading and knowing people's preferences in the MENA region. I was reading that how cash is still king in our region. So e-commerce businesses are booming, especially after COVID, and the growth of e-commerce doesn't necessarily imply that consumers are paying online. Many customers in this region, they prefer to pay cash on delivery. So can you tell me a bit more about consumer preferences in Iraq? Do consumers in Iraq prefer cash on delivery? And could you give me some insight into that, please?
Okay, I wanna go for a step back on this and build on what Yazan was saying about the use cases, the first entry to the market. Now, in e-commerce in the country, in Iraq, needs to answer two main questions prior to going to the e-commerce level. The first question is, why would someone go on shopping online? Because the major preference of people in the country is that they enjoy shopping. And then the next step, if they shop online, why do they need to download an app while the Facebook pages, the social media pages are very saturated with whatever product and service that you are required? So then if we build on value propositions and unique selling points for these two questions, then we go to the e-commerce layer or level. Given the numbers that we are seeing in terms of the e-commerce market availability in the country, there is a big expansion. I think the COVID situation has helped a lot in this realm because it opened the door for quick commerce to come into the country. Well, in terms of a customer preference, they always look for originality and they look for discounts. Okay, this is maybe the main items they are looking for in e-commerce platforms. Yet they also do ask the first two questions, and this would create some kind of they're questioning the behavior of they really need to buy an online. Then we go into the payment methods. The payment methods, cash is king in Iran. Even with like 18 different financial licenses for wallets, for processors, even after 75 different banks, there's still cash is the main element that is driving e-commerce.
Okay, how do you see, what do you predict? How do you see this trend changing, or how would it help it? And what could onboard people into online payments?
Okay. So what I would like to see, I would love to look at the population pyramid, where we are looking at Generation Z coming along in the education and the work layer, that they will be the next labors of the market. Generation Alpha is also very well digitally literate, and with the more use cases that are being provided in the market, like let's say the vouchers that the companies like Zaincash is offering, people are moving toward the digital payment environment. They are not moving in the fast pace that we are hoping, but when I compare numbers from 2016 to 2022, even in terms of the mostly untrusted layer of the financial sector, that is the bank right now, we see expansion in the retail accounts. This means people are migrating toward a digital economy, not with the quick pace that we hope to, but at least numbers are rising.
Okay, so recently we've seen a few new models come into the market. The BNPL business models, buy now, pay later. And we've seen Zoot Pay, who's expanded into Iraq. How do you see the future of buy now, pay later in Iraq? And what do you think of this model? And how does it compete with online purchasing and e-payments?
Okay, so the buy now, pay later model requires some sort of technical handshakes between different entities. And then there should be the guarantees for these customers to pay later. Just like in the US, there is this credit history. In Iraq, there is no credit history. So we substitute this for different other guarantees, like a government employee salary, like the payrolls, or two private sector employees, or maybe some kind of other guarantees that are used today in the banking sector, in the loans product, financial product. But in terms of the BNPL, we are talking about a smaller amount amount with a smaller products like a fridge or a TV, and we need some sort of less guarantees. So, but again, a more guaranteed user behavior. BNPL for now is working with the payroll system when people are using their payroll bank accounts to back their purchases. The future would be, I know it's different entities that are working right now on this kind of solution when they can populate credit history in Iraq based on integrations with other applications, digital applications, because our digital economy now is full of other different use cases like food delivery, like quick commerce, e-commerce, ride hailing, and digital wallets. We have a lot of different items that we can at least populate some sort of a score for a person to get into this kind of BNPL. So it can happen in the future, but I think it lacks some sort of regulation so that people can navigate through the kind of opportunity. The opportunity is already there.
Thank you, Ali. Abdulrahman. So right now the big buzzword is cryptocurrency, but more than that, we want to know what is it exactly, and can you please explain it to us? We'd love to hear from you.
Very basically, cryptocurrency was created or invented as the idea for electronic cash. Some sort of money that people have control over, but can be sent over the internet, just like you'd send an email or a instant message. Now, this ties in very well with what Yazin and Ali said about people's lack of trust with central authorities, banks, and financial institutions. This is kind of universal for a layer of society, that people are thinking that the banks are taking control over their finances and over their personal information, and that once you deposit money into the bank account, you don't have the control over it, even though it's your money that you have deposited. In the case of the developing countries and countries where there's less security, like in the case of Iraq during conflict, this problem was even exacerbated because the banks were going bankrupt. There was a bank run during 2014 financial crisis with the coming of ISIS. And obviously, a lot of people could not withdraw their money. A lot of project owners could not get their funds from the government. This has fed into this distrust that people have with financial authorities, centralized financial authorities. And so cryptocurrency is like this digital currency that promises to, replace the need for a central authority and works in a decentralized manner. So basically, I can send payment to someone by basically only having electronic trust, digital trust. There's no need for an authority to confirm or somehow regulate the payment. And that means there's no control over the money that I have in my wallet as opposed to when I have it in a bank account. So this is solving the problem that has been there for a while. For people in the West or in the industrial countries, they want to have control over their own finances without having to, go through the difficulties of sending a bank payment or authorizing a payment. In the case of Iraq and some other countries, it's that people don't trust the bank at all. So they want to use it as a store of value so that they can make peer-to-peer payments and without the delays and the processes that are involved in the banking payments.
Okay. So how come you started off in this sector? This is something relatively new and not really traditional in Iraq.
Right. In 2017, I came back to Iraq and I was doing some research to see what sectors here are underdeveloped. And after a month of research, I continued to research. I didn't find cryptocurrency in Iraq to have been adopted, and there is no exchange or companies that are facilitating the exchange. In my view, it was that there was no much demand for it, but I thought I'm going to try it and then see if there's demand for it, but there has not been any sort of like a good company to provide this service. And apparently, I was proven right. After we started Courtcoin in 2017, in June 2017, nearly 5 years ago, it basically was like an explosion. Everyone was demanding crypto. People were buying Bitcoins and other cryptocurrency as a form of investment because this gave them exposure to international markets or stocks or some sort of like commodity that could be bought and sold that was not affected so much by the local market, where there was no many opportunities at the time in 2017 because of the war with ISIS and all of that. But at the same time, this was a store of value, some sort of opportunity for people to have their money stored on the internet or in their own mobile phones without having to put it in a bank or store it at home in the form of cash. So we thought there was a need, and obviously as soon as we launched, we started to realize that the need was there and that we needed to expand, and we started to expand. I think within the first month, we had clients from Basra and Mosul and Erbil and Halabja, all over Iraq. And the transaction volume was spiking at that time. And that's how we have gone. So ever since, it's been increasing until now.
Can you just tell me a little bit about what type of services does Coin offer? Is it just a trade exchange platform, or do you actually have your own cryptocurrency? So what's your model?
Yeah, I get that the name can be confusing because it's called Coin, but we don't have a currency. What we do is that we facilitate buying and selling cryptocurrency. So if a user wants to buy or a company wants to buy an amount of cryptocurrency, we provide it to them. We sell it to them. If they want to sell it to us, we buy it from them. And we do that at a large volume. And so we have a very good liquidity, which means now any number of transactions or any scale of transactions we can handle. And we basically, that's the function of Coin, buying and selling cryptocurrency. We do not facilitate this between two different users because this is the brokerage function some companies do. So for example, they bring buyer A and seller B and they connect the two, but we do that our own. We have our own liquidity pool. We sell it to buyers and we buy it from sellers.
So can you tell me what are the types of opportunities for cryptocurrency in Iraq? I understood from you, and correct me if I'm wrong, that people are using it as a way to invest and sort of make sure that their money is not lost. And so that they can also connect with the international community. But what other ways can they, what kind of opportunities does it offer? And do you feel that businesses and individuals have an appetite to adopt? Any obstacles in user adoption?
Well, I think there is very much a very growing appetite for cryptocurrency worldwide. It's not just in Iraq. There's different use cases for cryptocurrencies. One is as an investment. Second is a store of value away from central authorities. Third is using them for like mining and using like cryptocurrency as a way to somehow savings account to have staking, which is also some way to make money through crypto and supporting the system while you're getting paid for it. There's also NFTs now. People are buying and selling digital art through cryptocurrencies. The way to buy an NFT is you have to deposit, you have to buy crypto in order to buy NFT, and you don't have to have a bank account or international bank account in order to be able to buy from any of those international platforms. All you need is some crypto in your own wallet. And the same thing if you have sold NFTs. We have many artists in Iraq and Kurdistan that are selling their NFT works for large amounts. And what they have to do is they have to cash it out. And the only way to cash it out is through, businesses like ours. And the businesses are growing, they're increasing this supply of like services. Now, payment providers like PayPal have integrated crypto buying and selling. The digital bank Revolut does that, and a lot of other digital wallets and banks are now providing access to cryptocurrency. In the case of Iraq, unfortunately, that means we still don't have much except for what KuCoin does, because the central bank has somehow put a ban on cryptocurrencies, restricting entry on a institutionalized or large scale. So probably that's why the payment providers or banks have not been able to integrate crypto payments. The use cases for crypto in the case of Iraq, for example, are going to be sending very, very quick payments. It could be used for online payments, for e-commerce, for sending payments abroad, for paying for services, getting remittances. If you're working or if you're getting paid from abroad, you get paid instantly within minutes. We have a lot of clients who are getting paid, programmers who are getting paid through crypto, and they're working from here, but they're working for clients that are based in the US or other countries. So the use cases or the ways that crypto are going to be useful are almost limitless, depending on how the government and the authorities are willing to deal with it.
Okay, thank you, Abdulrahman. Yazin, I'm going to move back to you. And what we've noticed in more mature MENA markets, we've already seen the rise of payment startups. But there's also other fintech categories such as peer-to-peer lending and crowdfunding, buy now, pay later, money transfer. So where do you see the Iraqi fintech space moving, and what category do you predict will see the biggest growth?
Yeah, so we see this, and we're in contact with many of those, and we're looking to introduce them to Iraq. So slowly, for sure, we have plans for this year and next year to introduce new services, whether it's going to be international transfer, whether it's buy now, pay later. These are services that we've already been discussing with the central bank. First of all, with any service, we need to align with the central bank. And then once we get the blessing and the approval, one of which actually it's the cryptocurrency, which as Abdulrahman mentioned, is banned and they discouraged them. So we've been recently banning cryptocurrency trading within our platform, which at some point people were using it a lot. But definitely anything that where we see use cases in it in Iraq and we see a need for it, the more use cases that we find, we want to bring them in. Some will do well, some will fail, and then we'll stick and invest more in the ones that we see that there is benefit to other people. So one of the things is Western Union. We're launching hopefully in the next month or two to enable international money transfer from the wallet to all countries in the world, whether it's to a bank or whether to a Western Union location, and then also receiving. So anywhere in the world, you can send money through Western Union and receive it directly to the wallet. And we're obviously the microfinancing, micro lending, which also in that scope is buy now, pay later, is something that we are actually also looking at with the central bank. And we're speaking with partners from other countries that we can actually partner with to get here. And then buy now, pay later is obviously a hot topic everywhere. It's being challenged now with the high interest rate, because the buy now, pay later, the way it works is they don't take interest from the end user, but they take it from the merchant. And then the way they fund this is through loans from banks. And then we have been living in a low interest rate environment for a long time. And then, the US is slowly increasing interest rate. That means the loans are more expensive. The money is not as cheap. Also in Iraq, as Ali mentioned, there's no credit score. If there's no credit score, that means default rate is high. So it's actually a very challenging model, but I'm sure it can be cracked. And we're looking at different ways. We look at countries that are very similar in DNA like us. For example, Egypt, Africa, where credit score is not there, high population, cash is king kind of world. And then we look at them and we learn from them. We are, frankly speaking, Iraq is way behind in many things, especially in payment. We are unfortunately also not running at the speed, but at least we could see how people are doing things. We could see what worked, what did not work. And then we take them, and as a company and as our shareholders, they don't shy away from trying new things. We look at investing, we're looking at failing, because we know, after from 10 use cases, maybe 2 of them work, but the ones that worked, it will be very rewarding for us.
Okay, thank you. Thank you, Yazin. Ali, before moving to Miswag, you used to work with Ishtar Gate, as you mentioned. Can you tell us in a few words how Ishtar Gate's work enables the development of the fintech industry in Iraq? And maybe some people are not aware of Ishtar Gate or also Blue. You can explain a bit what they do.
Awesome. So Ishtar Gate is in the financial processors segment of the licensing from the central bank. The licensing for these companies do 3 different things. One is issuing, processing, and acquiring. For issuing, they issue cards with their level. They are principal from Visa, and then the issuing can be done for the name of the processor itself, or if they are a principal, so that means they can do issuing for banks too, as a co-branded service, or for co-branded plastic card. And then for the acquiring, this means all the payment gateways, like an online payment gateway, an ATM, a point of sale, a point of cash, all the means that a card holder, a prepaid or plastic card holder can use to issue a payment, to buy something, to interact with the financial system. And then there comes this kind of intermediary, that is the processing, that is processing these transactions, doing settlement with banks, with the central bank, with international companies like Visa or Union Pay or others. And in this segment, the more you provide financial products that are relevant to the market, and the more you provide higher technology with a little bit of cheaper prices, so that you can penetrate the market, you can bring some other partners to access this kind of this environment or this system, so that you enable others. For Ishtar Gate, there were so many focuses. One of the main focuses was creating a real fintech products locally, that is the multi-currency product, the multi-currency software, so that their prepaid cards, Visa Platinum cards, would be not only a platinum service that is available for the public, because they need to get access to their to new level or layer of products in terms of plastic cards. In addition, it is it has a multi-currency, so that people can really use as a travel companion when they travel, without losing a lot of exchange rates per transaction. It is happening with a one window transaction fee, and then you exchange your money to the Turkish lira, for instance. When you go to Turkey, your card would be used as a Turkish local card. This can even open opportunities for e-commerce platforms, for instance, the ones who want to buy products from Turkey. Okay, and these platforms only allow local cards or local currencies. So now your card would be able to interact with these platforms and open opportunities for yourself.
Okay, thank you so much. We're getting a lot of questions on the chat. So I'm going to start a little bit with those questions, and then we'll see how it goes. Abdurrahman, somebody's asking, will KurtCoin create its own NFTs in the future, its own collection of NFTs?
This is something that we've discussed and kind of like done some research about. We we want to have the NFT collection only when we found some utility to the NFT. Obviously, a lot of NFT projects are just coming out, and what they do is they get money from buyers, but there's not much utility to it. But this is something that we haven't decided yet, finalized yet.
Okay, thank you. Yasmin, somebody asked, who would you consider your largest consumers or users to be? I also want to add to this. Do you see yourself more as a B2C or a B2B?
Yeah, good question. So we're mainly B2C. Our main users are end users or consumers. We have small enterprises and e-commerce. We consider those our target. But in terms of large enterprises and government, we're away from them. We're not allowed to work with the government as a mobile wallet. So yeah, we consider mainly it's the end users that we target, B2C.
There's a question over here that says, what would consider the main challenges for fintech in Iraq? I don't know who would like to answer this one.
Yeah, sure, I'll go ahead. So the main challenges is for, let's say, if I consider not only a mobile wallet, but an issuer and acquirer. So number one is that you need to make the payments to merchants done through cards or through wallets. So now if you go any shop in you can't pay by card. Mainly it's cash is only accepted. It's obviously it's the question of the chicken or egg. Who should start the payment? Is it the merchant should be ready or the customer? And now there are millions of people who have cards, whether it's MasterCard, whether it's a Visa card, whether it's a mobile wallet. But then it's all being cashed out, and then they would go up to pay a merchant in cash. Now the challenge is getting these merchants on board. So how can I get merchants to use the point of sale to accept payments? And that's the discussion actually I had with Visa yesterday, and they also discussed it with the central bank. Getting these merchants on board, it's extremely difficult. It's not easy. And if you look at countries that were successful with it, let's say, for example, Egypt, there has to be a bigger campaign from the government to get them on board. So government bill payments, so paying for electricity, paying for your cards or anything government has to be electronically. And this is still now is only done by cash. And it has to force, number one, the government to be done electronic. Unfortunately, this is out of our control, and it's probably out of many people's control or many also government entities. It has to be done from a government level, from a prime minister level, to push government entities to actually start having all governments to adopt e-payments. And once this happens, then people will use their cards more. Banks will be more enabled to give better services. Merchants will also slowly adopt their point of sales. I could tell you that most of the point of sales, there are many companies that have thousands of point of sales in shops, and 90% of them have never been used, and they're only there in the drawers. And to get them to use it, there's a lot that has to be done from the government to get them on board. But it's a challenge that the government needs to tackle more seriously. And that's my opinion. I'm not sure if the guys, I'm sure Ali and has also
I want to jump in a little bit about that quickly. The thing is, when we look into the main challenges, we have to look at the whole like cashless supply chain or the whole cashless cycle. When we want people to use cards at the merchants, but the merchants themselves are buying stuff from their suppliers, and their suppliers would only accept cash. And then the suppliers would want to import things from outside the country. And then the kind of importers need cash. So when the thing is that while we are looking to the challenge, yes, the government, as Yazan said, the government required to do a lot of stuff. But sometimes even the private sector should help the government to look into the issues themselves. We can maybe, I don't know if the sector can provide a cycle starting from the banks to provide some kind of facilities for the suppliers. and then the suppliers should use their bank accounts, and an RTGS like transaction from a merchant, the merchant would accept their digital money from the customers. The thing is, there are different items on the table with the cycle of the cashless economy that we are requiring. And it needs a lot of intervention from anybody, education from the companies, government intervention for maybe even for tax reductions, because merchants would be afraid of announcing all their transactions online, and they can run through the national switch of the central bank. And in addition, there is the banks and the facilities that can be provided to the suppliers themselves so that we can close the loop and the circle.
Thank you, Ali. Abdulrahman, you had something you wanted to add?
Yeah, well, I think that most of the obstacles, or the main obstacle actually in the way of fintech development in Iraq is central bank policies and the government, how it deals with this in general. First, there's a huge barrier to entry into the fintech sector. For example, licenses from the central bank are requiring a huge sum of money to be deposited into the central bank. I mean, as opposed to for example, a country like the UK, you can start a digital bank for £500,000. In Iraq, I think that goes to up to $5 million or a bit more than that, probably more. I think Yazan would know. So it's not allowing, smaller players to come into the market, making it makes it less competitive and all of that. That's one. Second, all these other regulations with monthly and daily quota for retail users and all of that is making it really, not useful for making payments and transactions. If we have these digital banks or these wallet providers, they should be able to allow users to make daily transactions of a good sum to be able to consider them as a feasible payment method, in my opinion. A lot of users complain to us that they cannot use, for example, Zain Cash or FastPay or some of the other payment methods for larger transactions because that's not allowed, even though after they have done KYC and they have completed all of the requirements for anti-money laundering and all of that. I think that these are some of the biggest obstacles on the side of the government. On the side of the users, I think there's also the things that they mentioned.
Okay, thank you. Somebody is asking, Abdulrahman, how people are accepting the idea of cryptocurrency. The first you started as Kurcoin, how is it now?
When we first started, a lot of people didn't know about cryptocurrencies, but there was many people that knew. Surprisingly, people would find Kurcoin from different parts of Iraq, and clients would push us to provide a better service, like more liquidity and all of that. In Kurdistan, there's thousands and thousands of people that are now using cryptocurrencies, people who are using it for investment, people who are using it as a store of value to buy NFTs and all of that. Also, a lot of people are using it as for example, sending and receiving payments. A lot of major companies here are paying their invoices and receiving payments with crypto, with international counterparts. We, for our part, we pay some of the companies that we work with that are abroad in crypto, and they are receiving crypto. So these companies are based in Europe and in Singapore, in the US. They have started to accept payments, cryptos as a payment method, as a legal payment method with all the legal papers and all of that. So it's the same like as you would do with a bank account, but you would do it faster. In 1 second, the payment is there without the fees. And in Kurdistan, people are realizing this potential, and they are using it. And we know about probably hundreds of companies that are using crypto on a large scale.
So somebody is asking that the country heavily relies on cash and has low education trust about cards and no enabling environment to use cards, for example, no POS machines anywhere. How are you navigating the hurdles in this environment?
Yeah, I can take on this. Go ahead, Ali.
Go ahead, Yazan. I thought You are muted or something. Go ahead. You are morally relevant than me in this question.
Okay, yeah. So the thing is, number one, getting merchants to get the POSs, and then the POSs, as you probably know, is not a cheap device. So we know from our sister company Switch that they're trying their best in distributing POSs in Iraq, and they have it also in Kurdistan. In Kurdistan, you see more engagement than the mid and the south. And then probably the reason being is that there you have a lot of foreigners in the north, and also probably a better banking sector. So if it's a merchant, if I was a merchant and I have a shop, if someone wants to pay by a card versus cash, number one, I'd like to have my money into my account quickly, and I want to have access to it quickly, and I want to do it in the cheapest possible. Cash, you'll get the cash right away. You put it in your safe, and then you have access to it, and you can pay for whether for your daily expenditure or for your sellers, etc. If you have it into a POS, number one, there's a cost for that transaction. It goes to your bank, and then you need to get the money from the bank, which is not as easy and has a fee. And number four, you don't have trust. So people are still resorting to cash for the obvious reasons. I don't think it's not obvious why point of sales are not using it. So we looked at Zain Cash as a different method. We looked at QR code, something that is successful in China and many other countries, where, you know what, it's very easy to actually establish a QR code. You don't need a point of, it's a paper you put on your shop, and then you can scan, the customer can scan, pay, and then we made the fees almost free. And if you need the cash, then you go to any shop and cash out. But then still, the shop will say, okay, so, but why do I let go of the cash? The cash is still more convenient. And that's where we need to change the behavior. Why? How come people are still using it in let's say in the north? Because foreigners are used to using cards. For example, for me, I don't remember the last time I held cash. I only pay 90% of my payments are Apple Pay. And having a cash in my pocket, I found it extremely weird, and I don't feel comfortable, and probably I would lose the money. So the customer needs to get used to it. And then the merchant, once you see customer wanting to pay for it, they'll adopt to it too. And also you need initiatives from the merchant side. So it's not a formula that can be cracked quickly. It needs big investments. And again, I would go back to my point, it needs big initiatives from the government side. We're still trying from a private sector. QR code is still something that we're discussing with other mobile wallets. So we can have a joint effort. We can't crack this by ourselves. We need everyone's effort in terms of trying to get the QR code to work. And above all, we need the central bank to help us with this. And we also requested that this requires an investment to get merchant to wanting it. The merchant wants it for free, and we can't give it for free because obviously there's a cost associated to it. So we're discussing it, but bottom line, it needs a big effort from the government side, and it needs a big investment to have a worthwhile shot on this.
Ali, would you like to add anything to this?
Well, I would only add the bright side of the story, that at this very moment we are seeing numbers growing. This means there are market barriers that are being broken. Yes, we don't still have POSs around the country to pay, but there are wallets, there are point of cash are being used as even voucher purchasing places. We see for Miswak, for instance, we have a payment gateway, we have an integration with Zain Cash, and we have customers who are paying through these kind of different methods. Yes, they are very little, but they are growing. Okay, and this means that there is kind of education. The increase in the market understanding is there.
Can I also add? I know I've been very pessimistic and negative. I agree with Ali. Obviously, we're seeing growth. We are increasing our transactions at least 100% year over year. We're not saying it's not growing. I'm not saying it's growing. It's actually we're doing very well, alhamdulillah. But obviously, we're more ambitious than this, and we want to see a bigger adoption of. So, how many of what's the consumer spending in Iraq? It's in billions. How many of those are actually digital? We're talking about less than probably 5% or 2%. Yeah.
So Ali, somebody's asking, do you have any plans in the future to collaborate cryptocurrency into your business payment gateway with cryptocurrency?
Well, thanks for the question. We are a registered company in Iraq, so we abide by the regulations of the government. And since the central bank disallows for now using this, even for, well, as Yazan said, people used Zain Cash in this until the regulation came in, and then we should stop doing this because there is a regulation in the country.
Okay. Abdulrahman, is Bitcoin banned in Iraq? Somebody's asking. It's banned in Arab countries. So I think Ali just mentioned that.
Yes, so the central bank has issued a statement that dates back to 2017. Late 2017, they said they have banned cryptocurrencies, but still people are using it on a large scale. So we don't know of any individuals that have faced legal consequences. And of course, there's a lot of companies that are facilitating crypto payments, especially now with the use of stable coins, USD Tether, which is equal to US dollar, but in digital form. A lot of companies are making transfers between here and Dubai and other parts of the world, and daily transactions are in the millions. So I really don't think that what the central bank cannot first, I don't think that they can somehow enforce this, and other countries have tried and failed. And the better way is to actually approach this with a more, how to say, liberal and like forward-looking kind of like approach. I think that's what is going to succeed, not banning it, because so far it's just kept growing in terms of use. But we are also a registered company in Kurdistan, and we are basically facilitating it as a general trading company because crypto licenses are not here. Hopefully that will be soon. For the central bank, that they will revise whatever regulations they have.
Okay, thank you. Murtada is asking, if you start a fintech platform, would it be more suitable to support it with Iraqi banks, private sectors, or government banks, while the platform is mainly focusing on the private sector?
Okay, I think well, if you do your business in here, so that you need to receive your cash in here, that means you need a local bank. Okay, so that you can navigate your financial cycle in Iraq, and then you will definitely need a local bank. With, let's say, a private bank is easier to be dealt with. Yesterday, I had a discussion with a friend of mine who wants to use Stripe as a payment gateway for its system, its digital service. And then Stripe means your money is going to the US, and how would you bring it to the Iraqi market? So you would need a local payment gateway, a local bank, a local network, and then it's already there, you know. There are some kind of banks that can service this kind of request.
Thank you so much. We still have 2 minutes left. I just want to say, is there anything else you would like to add before we sign off? Are there any last words of wisdom?
Ali, you want to start? You're full of wisdom.
Okay, thank you. Full of optimism, actually, not wisdom. The thing is, the CBI has a website called cbiiraq.org. It has all the numbers. You can see all the numbers that we are talking about in terms of the growth in the wallet accounts, in the and the credit, debit, prepaid cards, the integration, the financial inclusion. Yes, as Yazan said, we are not yet in the level that we expect, but things are moving forward. Then we need to be optimistic. We need to keep working on educating people about the benefits of the cashless economy and this kind of integration. This is my closing remarks for myself.
Thank you.
From my end, I just want to send a message to the listeners. So basically, I'm sure they're all young, ambitious entrepreneurs. That's why they're here on the session. I just want to say Iraq, despite the challenges, and this is something I heard from Visa yesterday, everybody's seeing Iraq as the next potential coming after Saudi in the region. Large GDP, large population, youth, good consumer spending. And there's a lot of opportunities in this country. And I think there's enough for everyone in this country, and there's a lot missing. So I encourage everyone to try, whether it's in the fintech industry, there's a lot missing. We're always behind other countries, that there's a lot that we can actually do a copy paste. It's something, we're not reinventing wheels. We look at successful models and we see what we bring here. And as Zencash, as speaking on behalf of Zencash, we're very open to partner with any new ventures. We've met a lot of youth in my 7 years here, and the people with bright minds that we enjoy working with and we enjoy partner with. And if there's anyone who wants to be in touch with us, I'm available on LinkedIn, on my name. Please reach out, and we're happy to work with you and find common ground together.
Thank you so much, Yazan. We're already above our time. Abdulrahman, is there anything else you'd like to add?
No, I just wanted to thank you first, but also just wanted to say that the cryptocurrency is becoming inevitable. I wrote a piece about that it was published on Yahoo Finance and CoinDesk, where I argue that this cryptocurrency technology is going to become widespread and also adopted, regardless of what government attitude is going to be towards it. So I think we're also optimistic about what the changes that cryptocurrency is going to bring to finance here and around the world. That has brought already some of these changes.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much, speakers, for your time. It was an amazing panel. Thank you so much, attendees. This is going to be posted in a few days on YouTube. We'll also be sharing it with you. And make sure to keep on following us on Twitter and LinkedIn. Have an amazing evening.
Thank you.
Bye.
Thank you.
Bye.